Today's lesson is about finding and comparing slopes of lines. This section is just a big preview of Algebra 1. So if you pay attention, or if you just remember it from Algebra 1, it should be really, really easy. There is nothing really new from Algebra 1 that we're doing today. So today we're first talking about slope. There are a few things that you will learn in Algebra 2 next year. First thing you will learn about slope is that it's actually just called rate of change. Rate of change. And that might be a little obscure right now, but it's just saying how much things change over time, or how much an x-coordinate changes compared to a y-coordinate. And that's where it comes from. How much things are changing. How much does the x value change? How much does the y value change? And we usually will talk about slope with the letter M. And then in Algebra 2, they're going to put some crazy notation. Do y'all know, is it run over rise or rise over run? Okay, so a lot of people know that. Rise over run. But really, it's the rate of change. The amount of change. Well, rise deals with what values, x's or y's? The change of the y's, and that's how it's noted, over the change in the x's. So that's kind of fancy notation for saying the word change. And I mentioned the word change a bunch of times, but really, what's the math operation for change? Subtraction is the math operation for change. So it means we're subtracting our y values, we're subtracting our x values, and I left off something on these x's and y's. Usually they have little numbers with them. Yeah, so they have little sub-numbers. They're down low. And they have to be in order. If you do 2 minus 1 on top, you need to do 2 minus 1 on the bottom. So keeping them in order is key. In Algebra 1, all they gave you was this. This is all they gave you in Algebra 1. I'm trying to give you a little bit more of a heads up. Yeah, you probably talked about rise over run too. Oh, if you did the triangle, it's called delta symbol. It's a Greek symbol. If you did the delta symbol also, awesome. You're ahead. You'll be set up good for Algebra 2. Remember, the delta just means what word? Change. And change means what math operation? Subtraction. That's what you got to get in your head. This is the formula that you need to be able to use today. We're going to use that in example 1 here in a little bit, but right now let's talk about slopes. We have a lot of different types of slopes. Sometimes we have a negative slope. A negative slope goes down from left to right, such as line J. Going down from left to right. Just like we read left to right, we look at slope left to right. Just think of this. If your grade started here and then did this, would that be positive or negative? Definitely a negative thing. Positive slope goes up left to right. So that would be our line K. Remember, if your grade did that, that would be a positive thing. That would be a good thing. Up going left to right. Undefined and zero are the ones I see missed all the time. If you don't study these, it'll be bad. Undefined are either horizontal or vertical. We got to make that decision. Undefined. All right, I heard a little discussion on that. They are actually vertical lines, such as line N. Zero slope is horizontal. So basically, if you didn't know that now, you need to memorize it or think of this. A zero slope is like the floor. It's horizontal. It has no slope. No slope is zero. I can walk on a slope of zero. I can do that all day long. Can I walk on a wall, which is a vertical slope? No, it's impossible without a lot of extra gear. It's impossible. It's undefined. You'll get an error. That's what you should remember for vertical. Vertical is undefined. You can't do it. Vertical is undefined. You can't walk on a wall. I can walk on the floor. That's zero slope. It's flat. It has no slope. That's easy. That's what you got to get into your brain. The next thing we got to do is try a couple with the slope formula. So first thing we got to remember is here's our little formula. And then they start us off a little bit. They give us some values. First off, they say find the slope of line A and C. So we're looking at line A, which is where? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Line A. Now, just like we read left to right, we find our points left to right. Along this line, which one is the leftmost point? The 0, 2. This is my first point I'm going to look at. So that's how I'm going to label it. X1, Y1. If that's our first point, the 4, 6 is our second point. So that's a Y1, sorry, Y2, X2, Y2. Goodness, X2, Y2. There we go. Now you simply plug it in. What goes up, top or left, top left? That's our 6. And then we minus automatically, and then we plug in the Y1, 2. What goes on the bottom left? X2, which is a 4, minus automatically, and then an X1, which is 0. I can do this math pretty quickly. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 4 over 4 is 1. Is that a positive slope, negative slope, undefined, or 0? Positive slope. Good. Now we'll switch it up a little bit. We're going to look at line C. Line C is right here. So here are the 2 points on it, 0, 6, and 4, 6. Which one should I label X1, Y1? Because it's leftmost, I'm going to label it X1, Y1. The next point, hey, guess what? I already have it labeled. There's our X2, Y2. I'm going to plug them in. Y2 goes first. Subtract automatically, then write our Y1. The other line, you have a 4 minus 0. 6 minus 6 is 0. 4 minus 0 is 4. What is 0 divided by 4? It's 0. So this is a horizontal, vertical, what kind of line? This is horizontal. 0 slope, like the floor, you can walk on it. Good job. Try these down here. There are 2 checkpoints that look up at the picture. Try those real quick. So now we're going to look at line B. Let's look at it carefully. I'll pick a new color. Line B is down through here. I see that it's going down left to right. That's a negative slope. So I know I should have a negative slope on that answer. If you don't have negative slope, you probably made a mistake. I have 2 points on this line. Which one is the leftmost? The 4, 6. All right, so that's my X1, Y1. This one's rightmost, so this is X2, Y2. So now I need to plug into my formula. Y2 goes first, and that's my 3. Automatically put down a minus, and then put our Y1, which is 6. On the bottom, I need my X2, and my X2 over there in the picture is what? 7 minus 4. 3 minus 6 is negative 3. 7 minus 4 is positive 3. That's a negative 1 for your final answer. The next part talks about line D. And on this one, I see line D is a vertical line. Automatically, yeah, I know the answer. I remember the fact about vertical lines. The fact about vertical lines was we can't walk up a vertical line. It's impossible. It's undefined. However, you need to be able to show me the math. Prove it to me. Prove it to me that it's undefined. So here's where it's kind of tricky. Usually we go left to right. It's easy on all the other types of lines except for a vertical line. Here are 2 points. There's really no left or right. So what do you want to do, top or bottom? It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. You should get the same answer. So we'll do the top one is X1, Y1, since it's already labeled that. I'm just doing it out of convenience. And then we'll do X2, Y2. We'll use those points. So up first, we have Y2, which is 0, automatically put down a minus. Then we have our Y1, which is 6. all over. Now we do our x's. So that's 4. Automatically put down a minus. Another 4. What is 0 minus 6? And 4 minus 4? And you should remember, it's impossible to divide by 0. If you try it on the calculator, you get an error. That should remind you that this is undefined. Only Chuck Norris can divide by 0. This next part's kind of interesting. This is where we're talking about a little bit of geometry now. Talking about slopes of parallel lines. You should remember that the slopes of parallel lines have the same slope. The slopes of parallel lines are the same. Always. Any two blank lines are parallel. Yeah, any two vertical, or you could say any two horizontal. If you're looking at two horizontal lines, they're parallel, guaranteed. If you're looking at two vertical, guaranteed. They are parallel as well. Good job. Up next, we have slopes of perpendicular lines. Their slope is, okay, I like what she just said. We're going to write this out to the side. Opposite reciprocal. Opposite reciprocal. 2 steps. 2 steps. Horizontal lines are perpendicular to vertical. All right, opposite reciprocal. Here's a quick reminder. What is opposite reciprocal? If I pick out the slope of 3, a perpendicular slope is going to be, okay, so opposite means change your sign. Reciprocal means flip the fraction. So this is a 3 over 1. We flip it now. 1 over 3. Opposite reciprocal. I'll write that out to the side. What does the word opposite mean? Change sign. Write this out. What does reciprocal mean? Flip fraction. If you don't remember those facts, you'll have trouble on perpendicular. A lot of times, the main things that I see is people will do one of those things. They won't do both. They'll just do opposite, or they'll just do reciprocal, and they'll forget to do both. That shows they didn't study. Let me throw out another one. If I pick out a slope of 1/4, it's perpendicular to what? -4. I would also take -4 over 1. That's perfectly fine too. You can write it out as a fraction. Simplified, yes. It would just be a 4, -4. So now let's look at example 2. We're going to put this in action. Find the slope of each line. Which lines are parallel? Now, I'm going to show you another method of finding slope. Whenever they give you a graph, I am perfectly fine with you counting. So remember, when you're counting the rise over the run. And this is where you have to do left to right. If you don't go left to right, you will not get this right. So once again, left to right. Let's find the slope of K1. Here it is. Which of those 2 points on that line is the leftmost point? Yeah, this one. All right, so I'm going to count from this point to the other point they give me. How much does it rise? How much does it go up? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so it goes up 5. And then it runs to the right how many? And that just simplifies to 5. The slope of K1 is 5. I did that by counting. If they give you a graph, you don't have to show me your work. You can count. If they give you 2 points, which you're going to see a lot, you definitely need to show me your work. Let's go again. K2. Let's see, where is that one? Oh, it's over here. Here are my 2 points. Which one is the leftmost? Yeah, the one -4. So I'm going to count from there. I do my rise first. How much does it rise to go up to the other one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 this time. And then it runs how many? 1. So 6 over 1 is just 6. Definitely those are not the same. All right. Last one is the K3. Leftmost, rightmost. It rises 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it runs 1. Which lines are parallel? K1 is parallel to K3. This is good notation for your final answer. This is the work that supports it. Pretty simple. All right, here we go. So line C passes through these 2 points. Since I can't really tell which one's left or right, I'm just going to label them how they're written there. I'll say this is my first point, so I'll label that real quick. So this one's my x1, this is my y1, x2, y2. And that looks like it. Now I can plug in my formula. It's y2, and it's good to note it. Slope for line C is how I like to write it. Slope is m, line C down low. So slope for line C, that is y2, which is 7, minus, what's our y1? A negative 2. Okay, so next up we have 5 minus automatically, then a 2. A lot of you notice this. Subtracting a negative changes to a positive. So 7 plus 2 is 9. 5 minus 2 is 3. 9 over 3 is 3. Pretty simple. We're going to label these down here, the next point, the same way. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So slope for line D is a good way to note it. So that's negative 8 minus 4 over 1 minus negative 3. Negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. 1 minus, oh, that's a plus. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Slope there is negative 3. Huh, interesting. Complete the following. Are they parallel? No, they do not have the same slope. And that's your final answer. And this is the support for that answer. Good job. All right, example 3 says line H passes through 1, 2. I'm going to graph that since they gave me a graph. 1, negative 2 is down here. And 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It passes through these 2 points. I'm going to get my little line tool real quick and pass through those 2. And once again, that was line H, so I'm going to label it line H. Graph the line perpendicular to that one that passes through 2, 5. So here's 1, 2, and then up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, 2, 5. I got to go through that point and be, oh, it says perpendicular. I like to highlight that key word. I want to be perpendicular to that original line. All right. So I heard a good comment. When you see the word perpendicular, what are the words or terms you should be thinking about? And I heard this response: opposite reciprocal. Well, let's first find the slope of line H over here. Leftmost point, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, over 1, 2, 3, and 4. The slope for line H, once again, the slope of line H is 8 over 4, which simplifies to just a 4. I want the opposite reciprocal of that. Opposite means do what? Sorry, 2. Sorry. So, opposite reciprocal. Opposite means change the sign. So it's positive here. It's going to be negative now. And this is 2 over 1, so I flip it to 1 over 2. Now, I use this new slope in conjunction with this other point. And this is telling me this is my rise and this is my run. The problem is, whenever it's a negative, instead of rising, we actually fall and then run to the right. So from our point, we fall how much? Yeah, that top number, fall 1. And then we run to the right, 2. Fall 1, run 2. And you can see our line starts to form. There it is. Those lines are perpendicular. It says graph it. We've graphed it. We're good to go. Try out checkpoint number 4, and then we'll be done. All right, in this picture we have 2 lines. I'm going to do the slope kind of fast for this line right here. So real quick, see if you can keep up. Slope for line N is 4 minus 6 over 8 minus 1. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. 8 minus 1 is 7. You should have that exact answer for slope of line N. Next part, slope of line M. I'm going to go kind of fast, see if you can keep up. I'll answer questions in a second. 12 minus 5 on top. Those are the y's, the change of the y's. Now the change of the x's is 2 minus 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. 12 minus 5 is? Are they opposite signs? Yes. Are they reciprocal, flip fractions? Yes. These are perpendicular. Write this, please. You need to say N is perpendicular to M. Final answer. Done.